Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Wednesday, August 24th, 2022. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. Right now, you'll notice the previous session traded in a rather narrow range at the lows after the recent two-day slide. This pullback put it right back to break even for the month. That black dotted line right there is the previous month's close, and price basically has chopped around that close throughout the month to begin the first part of the month, took it bid for a moment, hit the 200-day, and dropped right back to the break-even point on the month. So right now, happily trading around that level, 41.30. For the most part, this market right now is seeing that market structure pullback that we mentioned could be in play off the 4,300 zone. After we hit this area, we pulled back. We could be looking at a pullback as deep as that 40.80 to 40.60 level. That's what we mentioned yesterday. So again, any pullback could be an opportunity to sell this thing for a continuation down. Failed new high could be in play as well. At the moment, it appears as though we have another narrow range, 49% of ADR heading into the RTH Open. And we could continue to see a two-day narrow range build out before the next move occurs. But right now, directionally, from a very, very short-term perspective, is down. Failed new high could lead to a bit more weakness to the downside. 40.80 could be the next downside target to test. If we take a look here at the NQ, this one right now trading 42% of ADR. This one's also trading inside day. So the previous session had a range here. It was fairly narrow. This time around right now we are inside that range, and a two-day narrow range developing at the moment. Again, directionally in the very short term we are heading lower, and any rejection of prices above the previous high or into that breakdown midpoint could offer a trap and a reversal opportunity if it arises. So right now, sideways to down with a downward bias. We could be looking at further weakness up ahead and a retest of the FOMC key level below from July 27th. That's the 12.438 level. So again, more weakness here likely toward that 12.4 level. If we take a look here at crude oil, right now crude oil had the type of day that we were looking for in the previous session. Again, we had a failed new low right here, very reminiscent of what we had seen a couple of weeks prior, and we were looking for a 4-point move to the upside to 94. And we got basically $3.80 of range yesterday and rallied right to the 94s. Today we have taken out 95s. 95.40 is the high. That's basically the highs right here, and we're starting to see a push back below the previous session's high price. So the initial failure is starting to happen right now, where we're starting to see another pullback from the highs here, a rejection of this high, which could take us back to the midpoint of the previous session as a fade after trend day opportunity. But it could also take us right back down to 87.22 and maybe even a break within the downtrending market. Today could turn into a day very similar to what we saw last time around right here at this edge. So it came up to the edge, failed new high, and subsequently dropped back to support and through it. Do we see something like that develop yet again? Back to support and perhaps through it up ahead. So 95, very, very important right now, showing initial signs of rejection, which could bring us back toward yesterday's midpoint of 92.32 and perhaps even lower. Taking a look at Bitcoin right now, Bitcoin basically break even on the day, very narrow 3-day range. Rest after battle, as we mentioned in the previous pre-market video. This is a huge high range day. It's the biggest down day we've seen in quite a while, which is saying something because this thing has been made up of big down days for a while. This move down right now is sitting right on the 21K level. You can see 21K right here. That's your FOMC key level from June. You have another one from July right here, and we have this teeny tiny little range that has developed around that zone right now. 3-day narrow range. If it can continue to hold 21, perhaps we bounce back to 24 and stay in this range. A failure at 21 could lead to a big retest of lows up ahead. So big time support level here on a medium-term basis. You have a 3-day narrow range that's building some energy. If we were to quantify that 3-day narrow range, we would see that it is at 39.5% of average at just 870 points, and the expectation would be for around 2,100 points of movement up ahead. 2,100, as much as 2,600 points of movement if we get a breakout move. So that's pretty significant. I mean, right now we have a range of 870. We could be looking at something 2 to 3 times that very easily up ahead. So keeping an eye on this range as it continues to build energy. Lastly, taking a look at ETH here. This is Ether futures. This one also building a narrow range. You can see 60% of ADR, 147.5 points, and the expectation is for somewhere north of 240 to 300. So 240 to 300. This is the average, and then this is the R125. So we could be looking at a decent amount of points here. Again, this one held on the pullback. We mentioned before, how's the price going to respond here if it pulls back? I mentioned anything between 1,400 and 1,500 could offer a tremendous opportunity from a short-term, but also a longer-term perspective as this thing makes an attempt to recover back toward 2,800 to 3,000. So again, at some point here, if we can continue to see price hold this zone, we could be looking at a very nice upside move down the way. Right now, narrow range here. We'll see which way we go out of this range, but at the moment, holding the 1550 support. And again, there's a shot to kind of bounce back up within the current developing range here. So narrow range on a 3-day basis. We'll see which way we go out of this range. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.